Hello everybody and welcome to D-Skull Gaming for a very special Halloween special. Now, this is the month of terror, the month of spooks, the month where you dress up and ask people for candy. Fuck, I love this holiday. Now normally this is where I would make a live stream or maybe do a playthrough of a particular game, to celebrate Halloween. But I think I can do something a little bit better. Talk about something a little bit more personal. I love horror. I think horror is probably one of the most underappreciated genres in both video games and movies. Like, don't get me wrong, they're popular, both video games and horror movies. But I feel like a lot of people just kind of forget what it was that made them so great. We forget the details. We forget the little things that made those games give us fucking nightmares. And that's what I want to talk about. One particular game. The game that scared me when I was a kid. And you know what? Scared is an understatement. I'm talking about the game that fucking terrified me. I'm talking about nightmares for months, dude. Nightmares, vivid fucking nightmares. That game was Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. So let me give you a little bit of a context for how I came across Resident Evil 3 for the first time. I was about, I want to say 7 years old at the time, and I went to visit my grandparents. Now, the way my grandfather had set up the house, there were 3 bedrooms up top on the second floor, and there was actually 1 bedroom underneath the stairs. So there were technically 4 bedrooms in that house. And because we were just that kind of family, there were several of my aunts and uncles and cousins living in that house with them, which meant that my cousin would have his PlayStation already set up there. So I don't remember exactly what I was doing. I think I was just watching TV. Then my mom says, "Hey, let's go, kiddo, let's go home." So I say goodbye to my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, and then I go downstairs, underneath the stairs, to go to the room at the bottom to say goodbye to my cousins. As I opened the door, I was greeted with this. And from then on, I was enticed. Don't get me wrong, I was fucking terrified. But I could not look away. I saw this fucking face, this lipless motherfucker. He just seared into my subconscious, and it only gets worse from here. My brother actually liked the Resident Evil series from the get-go, so he actually bought Resident Evil 3, despite knowing that I was terrified of Resident Evil 3. Now, this actually wasn't my first rodeo with the Resident Evil series. I had seen my cousins play Resident Evil 2 before, so it's not like I didn't know what the franchise was about, but there was something about Nemesis's face that I just could not get out of my fucking head. And maybe it has a little something to do with the intro of the game. And I'm not talking about like the, pre-menu like flashes of cutscenes that you see. I'm talking about the actual intro of the game. This one.
This is Chopper Delta, preparing to drop off at area E95070. Over.
What are they?
Waiting
that cutscene also seared into my fucking head. I can still remember vividly having nightmares about my town being overrun with zombies. Like, I'm talking vivid nightmares of me just fucking hiding in the corner of my house, hoping the sons of bitches outside would never break in. That is the level of fucking trauma that Resident Evil 3 provided. And what made it even worse was the fact that my brother never stopped playing the game. In fact, sometimes he actually, as soon as he saw that I was in the room, hey, you know what? Let's pop in Resident Evil 3. Why not?
What could possibly go wrong?
That game fucked with me so hard. And Nemesis's introduction didn't really help.
Jill!
Brad!
We've got a... Jill!
Brad?
Yeah, look at this cutscene. Get to know him. Fear the son of a bitch. Oh my god. And the worst part about Nemesis when you play the game is that the son of a bitch chases you. Like, he never stops. He never fucking stops. In fact, show that clip of Kyle Reese from the first Terminator movie, because he pretty much sums it up.
You still don't get it, do you? He'll find her. That's what he does. That's all he does. You can't stop him. He'll wait for you, reach down her throat, and pull her fucking heart out.
That is exactly what Nemesis is all about. That is Nemesis down to a fucking T, dude. My god, it was incredible. I had fucking nightmares. Like, I still remember, like, in my mind, hiding under the bed for Nemesis, hiding in a closet, trying to run away from this bastard as he comes at me. It was like, there were times that I could not sleep. That's funny enough. That's actually how I found out about Adult Swim, because I could not sleep due to Nemesis, so I just stayed up watching Cartoon Network, and then lo and behold, Adult Swim. Oh, okay, I guess it's time to watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Cowboy Bebop. You gotta take the bad with the good. Now, you guys are probably wondering, how did I become a Resident Evil fan if Nemesis terrified me so much? So much so that I didn't even want to look at the game. I didn't want to even think about it. I didn't want to look at the fucking box cover because it had Nemesis on the cover. So, how did I go from having vivid fucking nightmares to loving the entire series? In fact, this is how much I love horror. You see this? You see this fucker? This is my Jason Voorhees figurine. Well, more like a little statue, really, of Jason from Freddy vs. Jason with a removable mask. That is how much I love the horror genre that I bought this guy. Don't worry, Jason. One day you'll be in Dead by Daylight. I believe it. So, the story of how I came to love the horror genre, and especially the Resident Evil series, is pretty ironic for a Resident Evil fan. My dad knew how much my brother loved the Resident Evil games, and he said, hey, you know, there's actually a movie called Resident Evil on pay-per-view. You guys want to watch it? At first, I was obviously very hesitant to watch the movie. I'd never seen the trailer, I'd never seen anything about it. But my brother wanted to see it, so he convinced me. And that movie actually helped me overcome my fear of Resident Evil. Now, if you've never seen the Resident Evil movie, it sucks. It's not a good movie. but it is enjoyably bad. Like, there are a lot of dumb things about that movie, and I think it does have some so bad it's good qualities to it. It also had some pretty good things about it, as minor as they were. There were some things that, even looking back, I do legitimately think, this was actually good. This was not bad. But the thing that actually got me to play the games was the ending. Now, if you've never seen the movie, I'm about to spoil it for you, but I don't think it really matters. At the end of the movie, the only two survivors are Alice, played by Mila Jovovich, and Matt, played by, I don't know his name, but he was in Ugly Betty, so take that for what you will. Matt was scratched by the liquor, and this is causing him to mutate. Like, his arm is like mutating. At that moment, before Alice can actually give him the cure for the T-virus, you have a group of Umbrella doctors, I guess, or I guess Umbrella doctors. They come in, they detain both of them, and one of them says,
"He's mutating. I want him in the Nemesis program."
And even though I was terrified of Nemesis, even though I was like, I had vivid nightmares about Nemesis, there was, I think this was my first genuine geek out moment. Like, that's Nemesis, because in the game, I don't think you ever like get any details of who Nemesis was or where he came from. And we have to keep in mind that when it comes to that, pretty much every monster in Resident Evil was at one point in time a human being. Maybe there is an exception with like the Chimeras or the Hunters, because those are clearly, you know, animals. But like the Tyrants are clearly people. They're people who were experimented on by Umbrella. And in my mind, even looking back, I actually think that's kind of a cool backstory. The idea of an agent that was looking to take down Umbrella, being captured by them, experimented on, and turned into quite possibly their most terrifying bioweapon. I think that is ironic and awesome. So after watching that movie, I played the game. I faced my fear. I pushed through, and I beat Nemesis. Jill shooting him in the face, or whatever the fuck this is supposed to be, saying, "You want stars? I'll give you stars." That for me was cathartic. That was fucking therapeutic. It was the first time in my life that I had conquered something so terrifying. And I just started playing the rest of them. I played Resident Evil 1, the original. I played Resident Evil 2, then Resident Evil Code Veronica, then the Resident Evil remake, then Resident Evil 4, and then I played Resident Evil 5, and I promptly forgot about the series. I did play the other games. I did play Resident Evil 6. I did play a little bit of the Revelation series, but it was clear to me at that point that the Resident Evil franchise had kind of taken a turn for the worse, until Resident Evil 7, which effectively brought back all of the elements that I loved about the Resident Evil franchise. And, well, we've got Resident Evil 2. Love that fucking game. Now, I could easily say that if it weren't for the movie, you know, giving me a sort of interest in the Resident Evil lore, I probably wouldn't have played the games. I probably would have just stayed afraid of them. But at the same time, the real thing that I have to thank for my love and appreciation of horror is Nemesis. I mean, he is the one who scared me. He is the one that seared into my mind and just never left. Nemesis was the ringmaster to the circus of my nightmares. And he fucking loved it. Nemesis completely affected me in both a negative and positive way. At least, well, negative when I was a kid because, you know, I had nightmares. But most of what came from that was positive. There's a lot that I have to thank Nemesis for. He changed me. for the better. If it weren't for him, I would have probably never paid attention to the Friday the 13th franchise. I wouldn't have paid attention to other horror games like Silent Hill, Fatal Frame, and I just wouldn't be into horror like I am now. Like, I actually have an entire a book that is a compilation of some of H.P. Lovecraft's greatest works. I probably would have never read H.P. Lovecraft. I barely read Harry Potter. But I read H.P. Lovecraft because he is a master of horror, and I want more horror stories. I want to see more horror stories. More specifically, I want good horror stories, none of that Annabelle and Ouija bullshit. Now, of course, I also have to thank Paul W. Sanderson for making the first Resident Evil movie, because without that, I probably wouldn't have felt interested enough in the lore of Resident Evil to want to play Resident Evil 3, to want to beat Nemesis. So, without that movie, I probably wouldn't be talking about Nemesis today, at least not in such a positive light. And I must admit that because of that, the movie holds a bit of a special place in my heart. Like, I can't hate the movie. I really can't hate it. I enjoy it, not just because of it's so bad it's good for me, but also because it was the movie that got me into horror, and because of that, it kind of has a soft spot for me. I also have to admit that I do enjoy the second and third Resident Evil movies, Apocalypse and Extinction. Even though Apocalypse pisses me off to no end, but I'll probably talk about that one day, if you guys want me to. But to cut this video off, I just gotta say, thank you, Nemesis. Thank you for scaring the living shit out of me when I was 7 years old. Much love. Also, Capcom, you better be fucking working on that Resident Evil 3 remake. Well, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed my little Halloween special. If you did, let me know in the comment section below what game scared the shit out of you, or not necessarily a game. Was there any property that just scared you and traumatized you to no end, but at the same time kind of left you enticed, like maybe you just wanted more? Because at least for me, that's kind of what got me into horror with Nemesis, so yeah. Anyway, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, share it, and spread the love. As always, this has been D-Skull, and I'll see you guys next time.